Reefer man. If he says he walks the ocean, and
all right, time for us to go behind the headlines. It's 13 past the hour, and a story coming out of the Denver Post takes a look at Colorado medical marijuana businesses that have declined by 40%, according to their statistics. What they note here is that in the summer of 2010, after the legislators passed a law legitimizing dispensaries, there were 1,117 medical marijuana businesses in Colorado. Now, this is data from the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division. This includes not just the dispensaries, but also the infused product manufacturers, okay, that they can make edibles, basically. By the end of that year, by the end of 2010, right, so from summer 2010 to the end of 2010, it had risen by another, 20 or so. There was like 1,131, which was the peak. So 1,131 medical marijuana businesses in the state of Colorado. Today, there are 675. So in terms of just the sheer number of the businesses that exist, it's shrunk more than 40%. But I think the headline's just a little bit misleading, and that's why I wanted to get in behind the headlines here, because if that was all you saw going through your Google News feed, you'd think, oh my God, there's been a huge drop in the medical marijuana business. And that's just not so. What is happening in Colorado is the business is maturing and is becoming basically like a lot of other businesses, where a lot of small distributors get picked up by larger distributors, and the market kind of starts to equalize. And some of the data in this story bear that out. Jill Lamoureux is a former dispensary owner. She's also been a guest on this show. Told the Denver Post, it's a capital-intensive industry and it's extremely high risk. The profit margins for the industry have changed significantly. In 2010, an eighth of an ounce of marijuana often sold in dispensaries for $50. Last month, Lamoureux said in a Rand Corporation panel discussion on marijuana, it goes for half that. So when your product goes from $50 an eighth to $25 an eighth, that has a lot to do with the competition. And you're going to have a green rush like they had in Colorado, and that's going to lead to a lot of distributors. In order for these distributors to compete, they've got to find ways of lowering prices at the production side and at the retail side. And as the prices come down, those entrepreneurs who aren't so skilled in business and marketing are going to fall by the wayside. So this decline of 40% isn't some gloom and doom scenario. It's just the nature of markets, of a boom and a bust. You know, we have a big green rush, and now we're having, I guess, a green crunch, you could say. This is Robert Fruchtel, who's with the Medical Marijuana Business Exchange, kind of agrees with this. He says, quote, "We're seeing the maturity of an industry. At a fast pace, we're seeing something that was brand new now coming into the early stages of a new business cycle." Fruchtel said the dispensaries that thrive today have a lot of money behind them, which they have used to scoop up failing businesses and create dispensary chains. They have business-savvy managers. And perhaps most important, they have large growing facilities that churn out marijuana that people want to buy. Because medical marijuana dispensaries must grow most of what they sell, the surest way to expand a business's front room is to improve the back room. And what he's referring to there, this 1284, I believe, is what the law was that came through, declared that the dispensaries, the businesses here running under the Colorado Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division, 70% of what they sold in marijuana had to be produced by them, right? So this kind of, a lot of people would say, you know, killed the industry of the small local growers. Many local growers out there growing and just, you know, selling their marijuana to a dispensary and then it getting sold back out to the public. But there's a lot of good to come out of having these places growing most of their product at one place when it comes to security and consistency of product and so forth. So there's a lot of controversy over that in Colorado, but this is the result of it, is we've seen that these dispensaries that have a better backroom, they have better grows, are the ones that are thriving. Another thing that we've seen is that the actual demand for the product hasn't really changed much. There's about 108,000 registered patients in Colorado. That's about the same number they had in 2010. They have the same number of the large dispensaries. They classify them as type 1, 2, and 3. These type 3 dispensaries that serve more than 500 patients, the big, you know, the Harborside-sized ones, they're the same. They've pretty much remained steady. The type 2 dispensaries, the ones, the mid-size that serve between 300 and 500, have actually gone up. So Yes, there may be fewer dispensaries, but they seem to mostly be these small type 1 dispensaries, these small mom and pop shops that have either become part of chains to be part of these larger type 2 and type 3 dispensaries. The state sales tax revenues have grown. Department of Revenue collected $5.4 million in sales tax from the businesses that ended in the last fiscal year, last June. The amount is $1 million more than the state collected in the 2011 fiscal year, and extrapolates out to about $186 million in gross sales. But a lot of what's causing some of these dispensary owners to get out of the market is artificial pressures from the prohibition we still see at the federal level. Lamoureux testified about how she'd had to go from bank to bank to bank to bank because all these banks would stop the checks and close the business accounts of these dispensaries upon pressure from federal regulators. You'd see the problem with landlords where they would get threatening letters from the feds and kick out these dispensary owners, kick out these dispensary businesses. And the fact that you just have to put so much capital into a business like this to get the security that you need, the cameras, to have the amount of staff that's necessary, all of the details that go into running a business, just makes it very, very difficult for anyone to thrive in this business. So it's not too surprising that under a regulated scheme, we're starting to see more mid-range dispensaries that are succeeding. The large dispensaries are continuing to go on their way. And a lot of people will lament the fact that this seems to be the end of the small mom and pop dispensary supplying grower, but that is the world of the legal marketplace. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of people that are brewing beer in their basement and selling it to the grocery store and having that on the shelves. You have to actually have a microbrewery. You have to actually follow regulations to pull something like that off.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Sergeant Craig Simpson.
There are other tests which officers can perform that may help them to make this determination. Tests such as one called lack of convergence, which looks to see whether or not a person is able to cross their eyes. Marijuana is a drug that prevents a person from being able to cross their eyes. Interestingly, it is the only drug category that doesn't allow a person to cross their eyes and also does not allow the person to exhibit a jerkiness of their eye. So it's a unique drug in that sense that is the only one to provide that influence.
What's happening, cool cats? This is Big Daddy, and I want you to cruise on over to the Funky Roller Rink. We'll be grooving all night long. Doors open at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, every Thursday night, right here on RadicalRuss.com.
Funky-licious.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Roots Monday, featuring the blues, country, folk, and jazz music that birthed the modern sounds we enjoy today. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Oh, yeah, what can we say about Chief Greenbud that isn't already part of some court record somewhere? No, just teasing, because Chief Greenbud's a good friend of us, good friend of the show, and we've been